Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about the case of Vincent Chin. He was a man who was beaten to death in a hate crime years ago, and he never received proper justice. It's actually disgusting. When I read you the excuse the judge gave, you're going to be so disgusted. You're going to be pissed. I was so upset while reading this. I just couldn't comprehend how something like this could happen. And it could just be let off so easily when it is just so obvious what it was. So that is what we're going to be speaking about today. So just prepare to be very angry and upset. All the links I use for research will be linked down below. Like always, I encourage you to go do your own research about it because there's a lot of important stuff here in terms of activism and stuff like that you should be aware of and just know. And let's go ahead and talk about this case. So on June 19th, 1982, Chinese-American Vincent Chin went with friends to a strip club in Detroit to celebrate his bachelor's party. But that night, two white men who thought he was Japanese would beat him to death. Vincent was born in China's Guangdong province and grew up in Detroit with his adopted Chinese-American parents. By the summer of 1982, he was 27 and working in computer graphics, and his hometown, once known as the automotive manufacturing capital, was in decline. Many U.S. auto workers blamed this decline on Japanese car manufacturers. So you can already start to see, the prejudice and racism coming through right there. They're already starting to blame it on something else. And they're blaming it on Japanese car manufacturers. Vincent Chin is Chinese American. So there's a difference, okay? There's a difference. Shouldn't have to say that. Just keep that in mind. On that night, Vincent was supposed to be celebrating because he would be getting married very soon. But instead, he was the target of two racist men. These two men were 43-year-old Chrysler foreman Ronald Evans and his 22-year-old stepson Michael Nitz, who lost his job at Chrysler. They were also at the club. So, according to testimonies, a dispute started between the groups of men over a stripper, and a dancer at the club would later say that Evans shouted at Chin, quote, "It's because of you motherfuckers that we're out of work," end quote. Eventually, this fight would move outside, and Evans would go and grab a baseball bat from his car and began to chase Vincent, who would run away. Evans and Nitz then drove around for 20 minutes, looking for him. And I just think about that. They are so full of hate and anger. They want to kill him. It's not like we got into a fight. They, in the heat of the moment, decided they wanted to attack him. He got away. They decided to leave it there. It's not that. They deliberately chased him. They deliberately got into a car for 20 minutes to find him. They deliberately did this. They didn't just let it go, okay? They had a plan. They had a plan after they decided on that plan, okay? Unfortunately, they would find him. Nitz held Vincent, while Evans beat him to death with a bat. Vincent Chin would die 4 days later from his injuries on March 16th, 1983. On March 16th, 1983, County Circuit Judge Charles Kaufman, I'm sorry, I ran into my next sentence without stopping. Charles Kaufman ruled the murder was the outcome of no more than a barroom brawl. So we're getting into the really upsetting part. I want to go back to the scene real quick. They chased him around for 20 minutes, held him, and beat him to death, and he would die 4 days later from his injuries. And this judge has the audacity to say this was no more than a barroom brawl. Fuck you, Charles Kaufman. So, he found Evans and Nitz guilty of manslaughter. They each received a $3,000 fine, $780 in court costs, and 3 years probation. Neither received prison time. They didn't receive prison time. They beat a man to death with a baseball bat after chasing him around, and they got $3,000 worth of fines and probation. And here's a direct quote from Judge Kaufman, actually. This is what he has to say. He says, quote, "These aren't the kind of men you send to jail. We're talking about a man who held down a responsible job for 17 or 18 years, and his son is employed and a part-time student. You don't make the punishment fit the crime. You make the punishment fit the criminal," end quote. Judges like these are part of the reason why our system is so fucked up. Judges like this should not be a fucking judge. That's what kind of a logic is that? You don't make the punishment fit the crime, you fit the criminal? No, you fit the crime. If you murder someone, you should spend your life in prison. If you harm someone, there should be prison time. I don't care if you're an upstanding citizen. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're wealthy. I don't care if you're a man. I don't care if you're a student who made a bad decision. Your bad decision was murdering someone. Therefore, you pay the consequences. You have to go to prison for that. What kind of logic does this judge have? None. He has no common fucking sense, because he's probably just as fucking racist as these men and saw an opportunity to let them off. And it's fucking disgusting. It's despicable. Just, you don't make the punishment fit the crime, you make the punishment fit the criminal. That explains a lot about our court systems, doesn't it? Doesn't it just? So this next quote is from Ken Yi, president of the Detroit Chinese Welfare Council, and he argued that the sentences amounted to, quote, "a license to kill for $3,000 provided you have a steady job or a student and the victim is Chinese," end quote. And yeah, that's basically what this judge was saying. Doesn't matter if you murder someone, as long as your victim is Chinese and you have the money to get out of it. And it's sad because this still goes on today, similar shit with judges in the court system, and it's absolutely disgusting that the judge did not see an error in his ways. Vincent's murder did not make national news, but the sentences did, which would spark protests across the country. And this is a quote from Helen Zia, who was or is a Chinese American journalist, who at the time was participating in the civil rights activism after the murder trial, and she says, "People knew from personal experience that we were lumped together by non-Asian Americans. But in terms of identifying as Pan-Asian, the key thing was that a man was killed because his murderers thought he looked like a different ethnicity. Not only that, his murderers got off on probation, in other words, scot-free," end quote. Yeah, they assumed he was Japanese. Remember, he is Chinese American. There are different types of Asian ethnicities. They just assumed they had that racist in them, and they took it out on someone who was completely innocent. It's crazy to me that all this happened, and they did essentially get away scot-free. And people were mad, and they have every right to be mad, because you shouldn't get away with murdering someone so blatantly. It was such a blatant murder, and you just got away with it, essentially. 2 weeks after the sentencing, activists in Detroit formed a Pan-Asian American civil rights organization called American Citizens for Justice, or ACJ. Over the next few months, ACJ and other groups around the country protested the sentencing and petitioned the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate Vincent's murder as a civil rights violation, which it did. It was the first time Asian Americans were protected in a federal civil rights prosecution. Can you imagine this? It is the 1980s, and it's the first time they are being protected. Sorry, I'm very heated and very upset, so I know my voice is cracking. But it is the first time that they are being treated like fucking people. Before that, Asian Americans were seen as not being as a protected class. And it's mind-boggling that they are American citizens, and the government did not see them worth protecting. Not until someone had to be murdered brutally, and the murderers get off scot-free, and then there had to be an outcry for them to be protected, when they should have been protected from the very fucking beginning. It is so disgusting. Moving on to the last bit of information I have for you on this case. In 1984, the U.S. District Court sentenced Evans to 25 years in prison for violating Vincent Chin's civil rights. But don't get too excited, because he would appeal and received a retrial that cleared him of all charges in 1987. In 1987, Evans and Nitz settled a civil suit out of court, and Nitz was ordered to pay $50,000 to the Vincent Chin, or to the Chin estate, over the next 10 years, which he did do. It did get paid off. However, Evans was ordered to pay $1.5 million, which grew to $8 million because it went unpaid and accumulated interest for decades. He never paid that family. That fucking piece of shit couldn't even pay the fucking family of the person he fucking murdered. He felt so fucking entitled about losing his stupid fucking job that he murdered a man who was not even of the correct ethnicity, which still is not a reason to kill. Gets off with it and still can't even just pay the fucking family. Yeah, you probably aren't going to pay $1.5 million in your lifetime, but you could pay them something. You could just say, you know what, I fucked up. I'm a bad person. I should have to pay you, but no. You let it go unpaid. At least your fucking stepson paid his thing. He probably didn't want to, but at least he paid them. At least they received some amount of money, but $50,000 is nothing compared to Vincent's life. And the fact that that's all they saw, and they had to lose someone that they loved, is mind-boggling to me. And what about his fiancée? I was not able to find her name. You've probably seen photos of her by now. I probably had it on the screen. He was about to get married just days from this, and she had to bury her fiancé. That is so upsetting. And I cannot believe he was found guilty. Evans was found guilty of violating this man's civil rights. And he went to prison for it. They're like, yeah, you did something wrong, go to prison. But he was able to appeal. He should not have been able to appeal. I'm sorry, he just shouldn't have been able to. And the fact that he got a retrial that would clear him of all charges, it's fucking disgusting. I cannot imagine Vincent's family, what they had to have been feeling to think, finally, this man is being put away. And then only a few years later, he gets a fucking retrial and is let out. After being told, you did something wrong, but you can still walk free. Twice he was told, yes, you did something wrong, but you can walk free. It happened twice. Technically a third time, because he never paid what he was supposed to pay, so he never held any responsibility for what he did. And I'm saying Evans in particular because at least Nitz paid his money that he was supposed to, but still, it's nowhere near enough, and it's gross. It's just gross. I'm really sorry for all of the cursing. This case just got me so heated when I was researching it. I had never even heard about it until a few days ago. And when I heard about it, oh, I was so upset. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I still can't get over the fact that it's the mid-1980s. And, Asian Americans still were not a protected class. It's like, are you fucking joking? Are you fucking joking? But while doing my research, I found a lot of wonderful articles about activism within the Asian communities, and I think it's worth reading up on, so I will have them down below. You should definitely check them out. Check out the ACJ and all these other wonderful organizations, and just learn about them, and learn about Vincent, and just talk about him. Because something horrible happened to him, and his story deserves to be told. The families of Evans and Nitz, I hope they have a horrible life. I'm sure Evans is probably dead by now, maybe Nitz. Because this is, 30-something years ago now. And this man was in his 40s, so he's probably very old or dead. I just hope, you know what, I hate this man so much, I hope your family has a horrible life. Like, I hate you that much. I hate you that much. I can honestly say that I don't like that man. Those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? I just want to say real quick, don't leave any nasty comments down below regarding Vincent. Sometimes victims' families, they come across these videos and they shouldn't be met with something nasty down below. I don't care if you talk shit about Evans or Nitz, I really don't. but leave Vincent's name alone. Only give him the respect that he deserves. And if any of his family sees this today, I'm very sorry about what happened to Vincent. It's disgusting, and that is the simplest way I can say it. It's disgusting. He deserved to have a life. He deserved to get married and grow old and have children, and he didn't get that, and I'm sorry. But that is what I have for you guys today about Vincent. Thank you for listening to his story, and I hope that you will take the time to learn more about him and everything that I spoke here about today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.